have got more lighting.
Hello, everyone. Welcome again to one more broadcast of Women Empowered Live. I am your host, Pastor Danielle McCoy, and we are just excited to be here again with you on this blessed Wednesday. You can join us every Wednesday live at 12 noon as we bring to you a different guest, a wonderful woman of God who is just making waves in her field or just in her personal life that we want to share to just encourage and to empower other women. This broadcast is being brought to you by eChurch International. eChurch is the place where people meet God and Christians are equipped. You may get in touch with us by sending us an email at echurchint@gmail.com. And we would love to hear from you because we are always on the search to meet more women that we can bring on the broadcast to just be empowering to those who are viewing. But we want to go ahead and move forward because I want to use every bit of this hour that we have because I know we have some very important and special information that we are going to get today. So I would like to introduce to some, present to others, none other than Dr. Theresa Harris. Dr. Harris, welcome to Women Empowered Live.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. You have been just such a wonderful inspiration in my life. And for those of you that do not know, Dr. Theresa Harris is located here in Columbus, Georgia. And she is just a wonderful woman of God that's an entrepreneur. She's a mother. She's a wife. She is just everything that you could envision a well-rounded woman to be. She takes care of her health. She's a spiritual woman, and she's that sister. She's like that big sister that you never had, where even when you first meet her, she's going to check you out, and she's going to have some words of wisdom and nuggets to drop on you. So I just want you to give our audience just some more information about who Dr. Harris is.
Okay. Primarily, I am a clinical research scientist and naturopath. I have formerly retired from clinical research for the past few years and now have found myself in my calling, which is natural health and wellness. I do believe that God is the ultimate physician and healer. And so, what I've done is actually dedicated the last years of my life or the last years that I am here on this earth is to help people and God's people to heal and to heal naturally.
Now you just said a mouthful there. Heal and heal naturally, because there are so many different drugs on the market. And
Yeah.
I think it was Bishop Bronner that preached the other week on side effects. And he was
Yeah.
talking about spiritual side effects, but he related it to medical side effects because every medicine that you take, there is some type of side effect.
Right.
I believe that I can say, and I don't even have the medical experience in this area, that when you do it naturally, do you have those same type of side effects?
Almost never, because most products or supplements are natural derivatives. And most of us are not intolerant to that, nor we have an allergic reaction to it. Now, on the rare case, there may be some people that are allergic to lavender or allergic to, catnip or certain herbs. It does occur, but it is so rare that you ever find someone that has an intolerance to natural medicine or an allergy to it. So one of the things that I love about natural medicine, as opposed to when I studied and practiced prescription medicines, we always had a side effect. There was always something. And it doesn't mean that everybody experiences a side effect. However, you rarely see it when it comes to natural medicine and supplements.
Now, I want to ask you this. You said that by profession, you are a clinical research scientist. How do you balance the two, science and faith? And how did you get to the point that you decided to take the natural route over the scientific route?
I'm so glad you asked that because that was a natural progression for me. Initially, when I started in clinical research, it was the end all to be all because, I wouldn't say I didn't know anything about natural medicine, but you just rarely didn't hear it so often. And, with the woke movement, we have made it more popular. But I can tell you the exact reason why I am where I am now is I remember we would do these clinical trials, and my specialty has been neurology. And so it was Alzheimer's, it was Parkinson disease, it was multiple sclerosis, and other neurological diseases. And a lot of these medicines were powerful and they needed to be powerful. And what happens in my practice, or what happened in my practice, was I would get the patients and I would put them on the drugs with other doctors. And it was my job as the scientist, while the physicians actually found the patients for it, and basically supervised. I was the one that did the data. I'm the one that, saw the patients, collected the data, what this drug did in the body. And we have a acronym, which is ADME. So I needed to know how the medication was absorbed. I needed to know how it was distributed in the body. So that's AD. And then ME is how it was metabolized in the body and how was excreted. And those are very key attributes of a drug, because you need to know, once you put it in, how is it distributed in the body, because you want to make sure that the medication works. Two, you want to make sure the gut, because we have two agents in the gut that destroys most of our food, which is what we want. We want the body to be able to process all of the foods that we eat and send those nutrients to the body. Well, what's different is with medication, you need it to be absorbed in the body and be distributed to where it needs to be distributed. And while it's being distributed, each organ, or the organ of choice, has to be in a place where it metabolizes the medicine so that it'll work. And then all the byproducts, which is the bad parts of it, needs to be excreted out of the body. And so looking at that over years, and then seeing how a lot of these drugs just caused awful things. You look at the diabetic medications and they were great for lowering the blood sugar, but 10 years down the road, a diabetic was looking at kidney dysfunction, 15 years kidney failure, and then maybe 20 years dialysis. And so it was hard to look at some of these things and not say, okay, I think the drug has something to do with it. And, looking at the causality of some of these drugs was just absolutely amazing. And that's the data I had to extrapolate day in and day out and submit to the FDA to help determine whether or not the drug would get approved or disapproved.
So basically, it was kind of an evaluation of, there's got to be a better way than this.
Yeah, not only a better way, when you start researching this, when you go back and you start looking at, medical journals that started out initially, and what most people don't realize is our modern medicine started out as as naturopathic. There was naturopathic schools. There were not medical schools. And so everything before the 1900s really was a natural potion or elixir or something that you brewed up in the kitchen. And so in the research, when you started going back and looking at some of these old folk medicine and things like that that actually worked, you start looking at, well, when did that change and why? you know and so you can look at the advent of medical schools. Well, the medical schools started out as naturopathic schools, and so some of these pharmaceutical companies can't get a patent for anything that's natural. So anything that is God made or mother made, mother nature made, you can't get a patent for that. So what they were doing is taking some of these natural derivatives and adding synthetic medications to it so that they can get a patent and now market this as a drug. And so by the early 1900s, almost all of those naturopathic schools were closed because now they were considered medical schools. And these same pharmaceutical companies gave endowments and grants to these naturopathic schools. And so when someone is lining your pocket, you're going to have to change your position. And that's pretty much how we ended up getting modern medicine in medical schools.
So basically, pharmaceuticals is big money, and they just took over what God had already given us,
Yeah.
something to it that wasn't natural, something that was synthetic, in order to
Right.
promote what they were doing. But basically, what God has given us worked
Yeah.
from the beginning, worked
Mhm.
then, and still works. And I'm so glad that we're having this conversation because you said something a little while ago when you talked about putting the medicine into your body
Yeah.
and knowing that it's going to the right place. Because sometimes people just, I'm going to say it this way, a little country, just be saying stuff, say, taking stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because my mom was one of those. And it was a sad thing because she was not going to professionals or getting advice, but she just knew certain things were right to take. And
Right.
ended up getting diagnosed with Steven Johnson syndrome because they had prescribed to her the wrong medicine for her seizures. She was
Okay.
Dilantin, and it
Mhm.
broke her out from the inside out. But the other thing that was causing issues with her is that she would take every single vitamin, not a multivitamin, but she
Mhm.
took multivitamin plus every single vitamin, and she would take multiple pills. And the doctor was explaining to her too, that's too much.
Yeah.
Um, don't need to take all of that because sometimes when you mix certain vitamins together, that's not good for you also. And I
Mhm.
wanted to stress that because basically you have products that you have put together that are natural
Mhm.
products, but because you know how these work together and you know what they are going to target, it's important to have a Dr. Harris. It's important to have organic sister. We're going to talk about that in a second. There to advise you because sometimes we can take things that we know are good for us,
Yeah.
as such as vitamins, but we may be taking it in the wrong dosage. And
Absolutely.
we may be doing ourselves more harm or not even doing any good at all because he was
Right.
telling us, like, you're not getting any benefits. Your body is just going to expel what the excess is. And so she
Absolutely.
save some money and save herself some stress because she just thought, hey, I'm aging. She's 70 now, just turned 71. I'm aging and I don't know what to do
Mhm.
to combat some of these things that I'm feeling. So I'm just going to take a whole lot of vitamins
Wow.
and still didn't make any progress. And then you said something else that I want to hit on. We talked about your field being in neurology and Alzheimer's. Even if it's not as far as Alzheimer's, when people start to age, and we're going to talk about women, but I think this is across the board. When women start to age, we start to experience brain fog. So,
Yeah.
are those some things naturally that we can do to help with this brain fog?
Yeah, I do. The first thing is we got to find out the genesis of the brain fog. Now, there are several reasons why you can have brain fog. It could be lack of sleep. So if you're not getting the adequate amount of sleep at night, then yeah, you can have brain fog. Two, we can look at if you're insulin resistant. That is another um, undiagnosed cause that we don't look at when it comes to brain fog. But the
Hmm.
biggest thing that I find that we have brain fog is that perimenopausal stage. The beginning of menopause, there is a myriad of symptoms that we deal with, but one of the tall tale signs is that brain fog. Walking into the room and like, wait a minute, what was I doing? What was I coming here? Logging onto the computer and what was I getting ready to look up? Or driving and say, where am I going? You know, that's how deep the brain fog can be. And it is an amazing thing to experience when you're experiencing and to see it continue like, wait a minute, something's going on. I cannot believe just yesterday, I could recite the whole Bible or the whole chapter in the Bible. And now I'm up here and I'm thinking like, what was that scripture again? You know, so um, a lot of women, it's that loss of estrogen that begins to precipitate that brain fog. And so one, you can go to your doctor, find out where you are menopausally. The other thing is do things that supplement. I love a class of supplements. It's a supplement here in the United States, but in Europe, it's a prescription, and they're called nootropics. That's nootropics. And nootropics are what we call smart drugs because they not only enhance mood, They also enhance brain thinking capability. So it's great for the Alzheimer's patient. It's great for the person that is perimenopausal or postmenopausal that is experiencing a lot of brain fog. And then more specifically, for those who have what we call an early onset dementia, that stage right before, Alzheimer's, those drugs are very good for that. And it's what I love about it is that there's virtually no side effect. And so, we do have we only actually have a few drugs on the market that tackles brain fog, and and that's not an official diagnosis. So,
Mhm.
but if it's early onset dementia and memory loss, we only have just a few. When I say a few, less than 10,
Mhm.
on the market.
Wow. Well, that's some great information to know. And I guess we're going to go ahead and get into some more great information about different products that you have that are available that we can get through you and through your business, as well as just some more information on what they do and how they will help our bodies and especially women's health. But
Mm,
I want to stop here and say that I pulled this off of your page. Now, I know the name of your business is Leah Shea Apothecary. I come there often, but Organic Sister, tell me about Organic Sister and how this name came about, how this movement started.
absolutely. Organic Sister is the person that lives in my head. And I have always been told that you do too much. And everything that God has put in my hands, I've been able to magnify it, or God has given increase to it. And so every time I went to a designer or someone that builds your brand, they were always, okay, let's just focus on this one thing. And for me to focus on just one thing was very hard. And I've tried, and just a few years ago, and I said, no, I'm just going to be all that I am. They don't tell Oprah, just do a talk show. She does everything. They don't tell Kevin Hart or Steve Harvey. They don't tell Tyler Perry just to do this one genre. And not that I'm comparing myself to them, but I am saying that there are so many parts of me that I didn't realize that, was important. And I also wanted all of those hats that I wear to shine in one place.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that was Organic Sister, because Organic Sister is sometimes a doctor. Organic Sister is an entrepreneur. Organic Sister is a crafter. Um, Organic Sister is a motivator. She's an entrepreneur. She's so many things. And that was the one way I found that I can put all of me under one umbrella. And so that's Organic Sister.
And you are your brand, not what
Yeah.
you do, because I believe you're such a multifaceted woman like myself that God may give us one thing to focus on in this season, and
Yeah.
then we may start something else in the next season, and next season we might tie the two together. So to be put inside of a box, you definitely cannot be put inside
Right.
a box because you have so many talents and skills, and we are grateful to have you in our community sharing those talents and skills with us. So when we talk about the things that Organic Sister does, I know that you talked about the crafts, and we'll also get into that so you can share that as well. But what are some of the natural, holistic types of medicines that you have formulated these products that are
Mhm.
available to the community now, and what areas of your health do they address?
I think the most prevalent product that I had is what we saw during the pandemic. It was so apropos that years before the pandemic, and I can't even tell you why, I started this bandwagon about elderberry. And people would listen, but I think people didn't fully understand the um, the depth and breadth of building our immunity and how it impacts us overall with almost every major condition. So when um, COVID happened, and there was absolutely no treatment for it, people started looking at natural medicine. And what they saw is this one thing, elderberry, was very good for the immune system. And it catapulted elderberry to a whole new level. And for me, I had already been, selling elderberry and promoting elderberry. And in 2020, 2021, all of a sudden you could see it over every pharmacy, every, you know, um, drugstore, because they knew then, the importance of it. But we in the natural world had already known that. And so for me, when people come in and they want to, okay, I just want something, I don't know what I want to do. The first thing I will always recommend is something that boosts your immunity, because there's not a disease that is not affected or influenced by your immunity. So building your immunity would be the first place I would say that they could stop. And things like the elderberry and the ginger juice that we have here is two key components that we use to build your body's immune system, especially for those that have autoimmune diseases.
Hmm. And so with the elderberry, because I want to ask this or get an understanding, when we see elderberry in something on the shelf,
Mhm.
how concentrated is the elderberry really in that product? I need clarity.
Well, I think the biggest one that really bothers me is the elderberry gummies, you know. And if you guys have ever had Jello, and which is the same ingredients in order to make the gummies, right? Just imagine something this small. How potent could it be when most of it that's most of the ingredients is gelatin? And you don't need gelatin for immune. You need elderberry. You need something that is going to influence, your T cells, your B cells, your white blood cells. You need those things, and something typically in a gummy form, pretty much for the most part, is not effective. So, and then when you see some of the liquid elderberry, when you turn it around and look at the ingredients, and you see sorbate, you see um, water. No, I'm sorry, because water, you need water to do it. But you see all of these other ingredients to make that product stabilized and preserved. And so I don't want people to think that I am against all preservatives, because there's this big thing about, oh, that has preservatives in it. It has preservatives. No, I'm not. I'm not of that school of thought. There are some preservatives that we need, and there are some things that we need stabilized, because there are ingredients that are not stable. So you have to balance the pH. You don't want something to be too acidic, so it needs a buffer, because you don't want anything to be too alkaline. And so, having things like that works. But when it comes to elderberry and something that is influencing my immunity, especially in a time where there's nothing or known to treat it, you better give me all the elderberry you can. I don't want 20% elderberry and 80% junk just to keep it on the shelf.
So you just shot me down when you talked about the gummies now, because I need to get more information on this, because I am a gummy addict, because I don't like to take pills, but I'm going to do what's best for me. So
Yeah.
you talk about vitamins. What is the best way to ingest the vitamin?
The best way to ingest the vitamin is through an injection in your arm or your backside. And I'll tell you why. When you inject something, for example, like vitamin D, like most people say, oh, you could just be outside 15 minutes in the sun and you get it. Well, that's no longer working for us. We have so many chemicals in the air. Our ozone layer is depleted, so the UV rays and all of that stuff, like, is not producing the amount of vitamin D that our body needs. So we no longer benefit from being in the sun 15 minutes or 30 minutes a day. African Americans are the most vitamin D deficient population. Um, Also, there are so many other conditions that are affected. It has only been within the last 20 years that we've known how much and how important vitamin D is. The other way to get your medicine is liquid, you know. And why is that? Typically, when you get something in liquid form, your body believes that it's going to assimilate food or drink. Your body is only meant to metabolize just two things: food and drink. Anything else your body rejects. That's why we have a side effect when we take medication. Your body rejects that because it's like, wait a minute, where's this coming from? This is not a food and this is not a drink. So your body has to learn how to process that. And most time it doesn't process it properly because it's something that is not native to the body. It's something that's foreign. So your immune system kicks in and says, wait a minute, let's attack this. And you're like, no, 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 wait a minute. This is my blood pressure medicine. This is my diabetes medicine. But your immune system is saying, hold up, we found an invader and we're going to attack it. And that's how we end up with autoimmune diseases and autoimmune conditions because your body has recognized something as foreign that's in your body that, obviously you don't want it to do that, but your body has said, okay, I don't know what this is and I don't know how to process it. So I would recommend, it's not that all gummies are bad. There are some gummies that, you can get the amount of dosage, but that's something that needs a micro dose, you know, as for treatment. Whereas something like your heart or your diabetes, where you need immediate therapy and treatment from that, you want to make sure you get the correct dose. The reason why most drugs are not in injection form, because even at 40, 50, 60, 70 years old, we still don't like injections. You
Mm.
tell someone in the clinic, oh, I got to give you a shot, we immediately revert to our 2-year old, 3-year old self. I got to get an injection?
Right.
Even though we know it only hurts, or I shouldn't even say hurts, it's uncomfortable, maybe 5 seconds after the injection is gone. But I tell you what, in the clinic here, I promise you, I get grown men 6'4", 6'5". You tell them anything about an injection, they out the door.
And I noticed that one thing too, going back to gummies, is it's hard to find any of them that's not full of sugar.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to stay away from carbs, but I'm being counterproductive because I've got 4 different gummy vitamins that I'm taking over here, and each one of them may have 5, 6 carbs in it, if not more than that per pill. And
Hmm.
probably overloaded myself 30, 40 grams of carbs just in gummies before I get any food inside of me. And then
Right.
to the injections, um, are there multivitamin type injections that are available, or is it just for individual vitamins?
Yeah. Most places don't, but common vitamin injections are, we do B12 here. We
Okay.
do vitamin C to boost your immune system. We do vitamin D here to boost your immune system as well. But those are the most common that you're going to get by injection. And
Okay.
then you can get infusions. There are a lot of places now that do IV infusions, and they not only have vitamins, but they have minerals that can be supplemented. You can get, magnesium, selenium, zinc, all of those things. Injections. We also do a hair injection here, which is just totally biotin, as an injection for hair growth and alopecia.
Oh, I need that one because a lot of women our age, let's keep it real. Now, I still got some hair under this wig now, a whole lot of it. But
Yeah.
normally we start to notice some levels of hair loss, even if it's just thinning. I started on the minoxidil, but I'm sure there's a more natural way for me to do it because I started to notice a little thinning. My dog's like, Mom, your edges are going away. Oh,
Yeah.
let's this. And I would like to find a more natural way for that. I want to back up and ask one more question though before we move forward on that. With the vitamins, are we doing anything to the vitamins or breaking down its potency, liquid ones especially, when we add them to our smoothies? Or is that safe? Is that okay?
No, that is safe. That is safe for the most part. But I can't say that because we're not talking about every drug. Some drugs, it's different. Um, Let me tell you what happens in the gut when you take a medicine. Um, your body doesn't know that it's not food or anything until it rejects it. But I want you to think about the pill that you take. Um, when it goes down the stomach, goes down the throat into the stomach, you have hydrochloric acid and you have pepsin, and those two together causes creates, I should say, a compound called pepsinogen. And pepsinogen is what helps you break down food. So a lot of the medications that you're taking is being broken down before it is ever metabolized and distributed in the body because of the hydrochloric acid and the pepsin in the gut. So we have a big we have a big debate about, you know, how much of the medications you're taking, you're getting or absorbing, I should say. And let's talk about the person that has GERD or reflux, if you will, or have some GI issues and they're taking their medication. And a lot of times the doctor is just thinking like, oh, you're non-compliant. You know, we have to give you more. We're increasing the dose, but they're never looking at what's going on in the gut. And what is happening is not that the medication a lot of times is not working. It's because the gut is so compromised that your body now requires more and more medication to be metabolized. So when you're looking at, okay, I was on 10 milligrams of blood pressure medicine and I'm on now 15, 20, but I have started walking, you know, I have started watching what I eat. I don't know why my blood pressure is so high. But then also you like, okay, but I am also now going to a GI doctor because I got reflux. And everyone thinks, oh, that just happens because I'm getting older. No, that's not necessarily true. You know, you shouldn't have that just because you're getting older. You know, that is telling you that there's an imbalance in the gut. And far too often, almost all the foods that we consume now do not have probiotics in it. It doesn't have the friendly bacteria that we need, or we cook it out either through the microwave or we boil it out and bake it out while we're preparing the food.
So, do you have um, items that you all have at your business that help promote gut health?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. But here's a freebie. If you like yogurt, yogurt is good friendly bacteria, the good kind, you know, not the little cute stuff with all of that other stuff. And here's one better. And I think I am the reason why Publix cannot keep Publix yogurt, fruit on the bottom, pineapple. Pineapples are rich in digestive enzymes. And I have a formula that I think everybody who is looking to be gut healthy should follow. And it's called HOPE. HOPE is high fiber, HOPE, HOPE. So the H in HOPE is for high fiber, foods that are full of fiber, insoluble and soluble fiber. Oils, those oils that our grandmother or our great grandmother told us to consume, or they forced us, you know, during the summers, you know, that borage oil, that cod liver oil. And if you don't like those, you can do fish oil and flaxseed oil. I'm a flaxseed oil kind of girl because all the other ones, you know, I don't like the taste of it.
Mm-hmm.
The P in hope is probiotic. You want something that has friendly bacteria that is full of lactobacillus, bacterium, and the like. And then the E is enzymes, something that has digestive enzymes to break down the foods. If you want to eat that steak, if you want to eat something that's not easily digestible like corn, but you love those and you want to eat those, or pork, if you will, and you want to consume those. I'm not saying that you can't. Just use that backup with some digestive enzymes. Papayas and pineapples are rich in digestive enzymes.
I'm taking my notes here. I'm sorry, I got caught up in my notes because it's such good information. When we get to a certain age as women, I mean, I know good health is good for all age groups.
Right.
What is that mark that we really need to stop and pay attention to our health and what's happening in our body, what's happening in our guts as women?
Yeah. I would love to see women around 40 because it is around that age where, for the most part, we've had our children, and our children are either grown or close to being grown. And this is the time where we're beginning to rediscover ourselves. And so around that 40, 45, now we're like, okay, we've taken care of husband, we've taken care of the children, we've taken care of mom and dad. Now it's our turn. And unfortunately, it shouldn't be like that, but that's pretty much the case. So around 45, I would suggest every woman get a complete head to toe checkup. This is now, if you haven't had your colonoscopy done, do that. Make sure you're on point with your mammograms and your pap smears. If you can, there are places that do body scans. I mean, it's very expensive to have done. If there's nothing clinically wrong with you, and there are places that I love, like Turkey, where you can go over to Turkey and they'll do a complete workup. And when I say complete workup, that means they literally draw blood. They culture your blood, they culture your urine. So if anything is on its way in the pipeline, they do it. They do a total body scan. I'm not advising that everybody goes to Turkey, but that seems to be the only place where you can get it, where it's economical and it's evidence-based medicine. And so around that 45 is where we're going to get into perimenopausal. So now you're beginning to experience the fatigue. You are beginning some of that brain fog. The hair is beginning to thin. Your appetite has changed. Now you are more apt to store fat around the gut. It's a time where you're gaining more weight and it's harder to lose it. Your appetite is changing, your sleep pattern is changing. You go from someone who used to be able to sleep 8 to 10 hours at night, and now 4 to 5 hours. You're now waking up in the middle of the night to urinate, where you were able to, you know, keep it, in all night. And so these are the things now you're dealing with, skin dry, probably a little bit of eczema for a lot of us. Our skin color begins to change in our face. There, now you start seeing, finer lines. You are beginning to see what we call raccoons under the eyes. That's usually because of the loss of estrogen. We call it dark circles, but a lot of that is because of the loss of estrogen and progesterone in the body.
It sounds like you just described me in 90, at least 90% of the way.
All of us, yeah.
Because when we go to skin, you point out a couple things I want to hit on. But well, I guess we'll start with skin and go backwards.
Yeah.
When you talk about skin changing,
Hmm.
our skin starts to get a lot duller,
Yeah.
and we have the choices to start doing things like Botox and different things like that. Is there something natural though that we can ingest, add into our diet, add into our
Yeah.
routine that will help improve our skin? Because I'm having that problem. I feel it's just so dull. I stand next to my 23-year-old and she just seems to be glowing and beaming, and I just feel like this dried up, just nothing.
Yeah. Collagen is really good, but I'm gonna tell you something that we don't practice a lot. And our Caucasian counterparts, they do.
Okay.
We do not treat our skin professionally. We'll get something. You talk to the average person, oh, yeah, I may use this brand to wash my face, and, I might put on some moisturizer at night. I think by the time I'll speak for me, by the time I realized that I should have done something truly dynamic to my face, it's probably within the last few years. Because now that I'm on camera, I'm like, oh my God, my face is sagging, or the raccoons, or the dry skin, and you're like, oh, I wish, the last 10 years I was more frequent with my my facials. I think more than anything at this point now, you need to have a good esthetician. You have to have someone to treat your if you are not doing it yourself. Um, there's just no way we can counteract what's happening to aging skin without doing something. There's no more, I can wash my face with water and just move on. That's that person that has good genetics, that doesn't require that. But the vast majority of who are movers and shakers, we're doing so many things. We're exposed to so much that we don't have the advantage of not doing anything anymore. I know I look at myself now and I would say, oh God, I would never, ever do anything cosmetically to my face. But now I'm like, ooh, I'm looking at these ads about Botox and I'm like, ooh, I wonder would that really benefit me? And I never thought that I was so vain. But I can tell you what, watching social media has definitely had a play in it because you're worried about how you look, how you present yourself, because you may not directly be comparing yourself to other people. They have lighting, they have a makeup team, and they have all of that, all because we're looking at our skin and we're looking at our face and we're unpleased with it. And so we want to be socially acceptable. And so that literally a lot of times starts with our appearance.
Definitely so. And I subscribe to to using a great esthetician and professional skincare
Yeah,
because there just becomes a point when you've got to realize
yeah,
I need some help to at least not progress so quickly if I'm not really able to turn back the hands of time. But there are
right.
things that you can use topically as well as ingest. I'm glad you said collagen because I did just order some collagen.
Mhm.
Have a treatment coming up, the micro needling to help
Okay,
stimulate the collagen as well because we don't think about those things when we're younger. Going again,
right.
my 23-year-old, even my 31-year-old, I'm like, wow, you guys' skin is nice, soft, and supple. Get a regimen, take care
Yeah,
of it
yeah,
because that's not something that I'm going to say for the Black household. That's not something that we really focus on. My mother is a little darker than you, has beautiful skin even to this day. And I think there's a difference in melanin also in
mhm,
different
yeah,
your skin shades because all she's used is water and probably some lotion all these
mhm,
years. Her skin is beautiful, but there is also the fine lines in different spaces. There's also where there's a collagen loss and you can see the jowls starting to come in.
mhm.
So there's definitely something that we need to address. The other thing that you talked about, I'm going to go way back. I know with the colonoscopy, we're looking especially for cancer and things of that nature. But I know you offered or did offer, I don't know if you still do it, I believe you do, something else, and that was the colonics.
Yeah. Not
I,
only do we still offer it, we can never not offer it.
well, I'm going to say it's an experience, but can you tell our I had it done and I think I gave up. I told you, Dr. Harris, I prayed for the 3 sessions. I said, I'm gonna let you have the money for the other 2. I'm good. God bless you in your business. But I'm gonna come back and I'm
I
gonna
hope so.
do the 3 sessions that you suggested. But can you just make our public aware of why colonics is important and the benefits of it?
Yeah. Out of all the things that I've done and all of the milestones that have been created with me doing clinical research does not compare to what I've seen that machine does. You think about it, we came here on this earth clean, and we have effectively become a society that is chronically constipated. How do I know that? Well, whenever I poll someone or talk to someone, I go, how often do you go to the bathroom? And someone goes, oh, I'm regular. And okay, tell me what they mean. I go every day. And the sad part is everyone thinks that going to the bathroom every day is regular. And I
Mm.
go, no, you're chronically constipated. And they go, how so? Well, the average person consumes 3 meals a day, and there's 7 days in a week. That's 21 days. I'm sorry, there's 21 meals a week. And if you consume 21 meals and only eliminated 7 because you go once a day, that's 14 meals inside of you. Doesn't sound like a lot. Well, let's multiply that by 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
That's 28. Now let's multiply that by a month. That's 56 meals. Now let's multiply that by a year. So that's the reason why a lot of us are sick, because we have all of these toxins in our bodies that has become rancid and putrefied and rotten in our gut. What the colonic machine does, it helps clean your body. So most people say, oh, my body's self-cleaning because I eliminate. No, because we eat food that is full of mess and gunk. No one eats 100% organically. So the foods that we consume, a lot of those foods have waste. That's the reason why it comes out of the body, because it's waste. Your body did not utilize it. Your body did not need it. Your body did not send it through the bloodstream. So that is waste. So if you are not eliminating that waste, what is it doing? It's sitting in your colon. So most people think, oh, I have a big gut. No, your stomach is about the size of your fist. The only thing that gets bigger is your intestines. Your small intestines is about 23 and a half feet long. Your large intestines is about 6 feet long. So that's 30 feet in which food can just hang out, chill, relax, and cause damage in your stomach. And guess what? That backup plan when we have that food that we don't consume, it's mucus. Mucus is the glue and the tack that sits in your colon to use to glue that undigested, that spoiled, and that putrefied food. That's the reason why mucus is not a good thing for most of us, and why it's a problem, because there's so much that can hide behind that mucus. And it's usually toxins, or parasites and things like that that are not good for. It's bad bacteria, it's bad viruses, it's bad things. But that is the body's backup plan for food that is undigested and putrid.
I'm
I'm
going.
sorry, I didn't mean to go there, but
That's okay, because I do have a question as it pertains to this. When we go back and say ask this question. So with the colonics, one of the things that you said to me, or the one of the reasons that you suggested it to me, because I was always a two-pick twig, and I gained a little. And you saw me, and you were like, "Daniel, I've never seen you with a stomach like this." And you was explaining that it would help with the bloating. And
yeah,
so those of you that you want to be snatched, you don't have to lay on the table to get snatched. But if you take care of your gut health and what's going on in you, then you can reduce some of your bloating. But then we
yeah,
talked about the mucus. Is there a correlation between, my kids and I call it the ack, this like acking cough that will happen from time to time, but it's not caused by a cold or anything, but there's some mucus that follows.
yes. It's usually the built up mucus that is in the back of the throat or in the lungs. And sometimes it's in the gut. You know, it mucus is a big culprit, and it was one of the things during COVID that made the virus so bad, was the mucus that is in your body. Before the cold and flu season, I start preaching about, ridding the body of unnecessary mucus. All mucus is not bad, okay? So
Mhm.
I need to say that, because I don't want people to think mucus is that bad word. There's reason for it in the body. The problem is we have too much. It's just like, when a woman has yeast infection, yeast sounds bad, but no, we're supposed to have yeast. It's just a yeast infection is too much yeast. It's an overgrowth of it. And having an overgrowth of mucus is not a good thing for the body. And one of the things that I used to say all the time when I first got into holistic health was death begins in the colon. Almost every disease is influenced by the gut, good or bad.
Mm, wow. And when we talk about vaginal health, because you just mentioned something about our vaginas as well, there are
Mhm.
some products that you all offer to help keep us our pH?
Oh, yes.
Because I this, and I'm not shooting anybody down. I'm nobody's judge or jury, but everybody's sleeping with everybody nowadays. And
Yeah.
I notice in having daughters and other young women that we talk about, if you just get away from STDs, and
Mhm.
we'll just leave that on the side from now, just engaging in intercourse, whether you use protection or not,
Yeah.
there's just something about connecting with another person and them entering your body that just makes you be a little off as a woman.
Absolutely.
There. And,
Absolutely.
and then there's just certain things as well. Of course, we know that what we use, different products that we use are
Mhm.
irritating to us and it will
Yeah.
cause be abnormal. What are some of the products that you offer and some of the advice that you can give women on just keeping our girl healthy down there?
Yeah, I love talking about this.
Yeah.
When I say I love it, I love talking about this particular thing because it's something that is so taboo with women. I remember years ago I used to do this talk about, know your pH. And we would get women that would come, but they would never say anything in the room. And then after the lecture, then they're bombarding me or they're calling me, oh, I wanted to say this. And I'm like, you were in the room. All of us suffer the same thing. Everybody that's in the room has the same issue or have had the same issue. Here's what we haven't been taught or told, Danielle. When women have intercourse, whether it's within the confines of marriage or not, you are dealing not only with, and we could go physically, spiritually, or whatever like that. I'm just going to go medically because that's what we're talking about. A woman's pH is 4.5 to 5.2. So if the vagina is that, the vagina is what? It's acidic because when you're looking at the pH scale, you have 0 to 14. 7 is what we call pH neutral. Anything under 7 is acidic. And then anything that's over 7 is alkaline.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have a woman that's over here that's very acidic on the left hand side. And then you have the male sperm over here that's typically around 7, 7.2. That's alkaline. So you're putting alkaline into something that's acidic. So the very sheer act of having intercourse changes the ecology of the vagina to a more alkaline. For the woman internally, what keeps bacteria, virus, and everything away is for the vagina to remain acidic. For the man, it's the opposite, for him to remain more alkaline down there. So what happens is when a man enters a woman and deposit, that vagina becomes more alkaline over time, especially if you're frequent with intercourse. So the vast majority of women that experiences these discharge like symptoms or chronic infections with yeast a lot of times has to do with that. Now, are there things that can be done? Yeah, absolutely. The first thing is stop bathing down there with soap. That area, your girl, was never meant to be washed with soap, literally. And I know women hate when I say that. I say the first thing you got to do is stop using soap and definitely, you know, the bathroom, I don't know if we can say the name, but the Bath and the Body Works kind of stuff. Those
Yes.
are perfect for the body, but not there. And so what you need is a cleansing oil. And so I use a product that I make called pH Restore because it restores the pH no matter what, whether you are actively participating sexually or not. If you're utilizing things like, as women, we love the cute underwear and the Victoria's Secrets, and those are great for looks, but they're terrible because of the dyes that are used to manufacture them. Now, I know no one likes the cotton granny panties, but those are pH sensitive to your body. I would encourage women, if you're going to use those, let those be worn, short lived, Um, something that my mom did, which is probably TMI, but my mom is no longer here, so I don't have to embarrass her. My mom never slept with underwear on. And it was perfect because it gave her the ability for that area to actually be oxygenated, so to speak. And so it decreased the amount of bacteria that could live or reside in that area. And so I love the pH Restore because it's a product that I say that not only makes your girlfriend down there feels good, it has so many other active benefits with toning and tightening, if you will. But it's one of those things where a lot of men come and purchase the products for their wife because, well, I'm not going to say what, why, but for men, the men find that that product alone really helps them with their wife. I'm going to say that.
And I will also say along those lines, as women, it's nothing to be embarrassed about because our pH changes. You just have to address it.
Mhm.
And because
Absolutely.
if you have a partner that is vocal, sometimes they may say to you, baby, X, Y, and Z. And you
Hmm.
just go see Dr. Harris and let's work some things out.
Yeah.
That the other thing that I want to add, and to me, this is absolutely gross, but people do what they do. Of course, I'm in the thrift business. I have several friends that are also in the thrift business as well. And those of us that do storage units, I know a young man that told me that he sells used sex toys and that people buy used sex toys.
No, no way. No way.
So I would just be say this other thing that ladies be careful also of what's going inside of your body. If you didn't buy it,
Are
don't
they that expensive that you would need it used?
They're not. They're
Okay.
absolutely not. But no, there are people
Oh, wow.
that he says buy them from him, random people, because he sells at different locations, other events, that flea market up on, was it 280, down at the end of 280, and that people do buy them from him. So I would say to my sisters as well, if you didn't buy it, if you didn't see it be purchased, and you don't know it's fresh, clean, sterilized from the manufacturer, be careful of what you
God, I don't think I want to know the person that buys
I know.
something like that
Oh,
used. I
I
guess, ooh,
I was absolutely floored because people are just swapping, because that's almost like having sex with everybody. I'm just gonna leave it there. But I
yeah.
just a couple things. We have a few moments left, but you offer so much. It's almost like we've got to have a part two. We could do this every quarter and just give so much information. But
Mhm.
along with some of the other products that you have, I just wanted to share these few because they were of interest to me, because we talked about, and well, I guess we'll end here and talking about weight, because it's so important to so many people. When
Mhm.
a woman reaches a certain age, our metabolism is going to slow down.
Yeah.
I remember when I met you, I may have been in my late 20s, right at my early 30s, and I was little as nothing, probably a size 4, sometimes a size 2.
You
And
were small.
yes,
In
and
fact,
now,
I remember the day I met you.
yeah, and now I'm a size something else.
Okay.
It's not one of those, but I try so hard, Theresa. Let me
You
tell
grew in abundance.
you. Yes, I
You
try so
grew in abundance.
hard, and it's like I can go weeks and not eat sweets, thinking, okay, I'm doing low carb in my head. And there are certain areas, like you say, the midsection, that the weight just stays there. For my family, the women don't carry it in the hips, they carry it in the upper back. So yeah, we might be considered big bags. But I noticed that it started around a certain age. When I hit that 40 threshold, especially about 45, that was it. I used to blame it on my marriage, because I'm like, my ex-husband was a preacher. He's keeping me up eating at night. And that might have had something to do with it. But combination of that, it wasn't going away like it used to when I was younger. I
Right.
eat at night and it would, just melt off on its own. And now it is sticking. So you have something that's a cleanse. I think I'm hitting the right one. No, this is sea moss. It's 3-day detox. And you also have a product that deals with water weight.
Yeah.
Why is detoxing and water weight products important when you are trying to lose weight?
The detox is not important for losing weight. The detox is for totally different thing. You
Okay.
may lose some weight with that, but detox should never be seen as something that should be coordinated with weight loss. It's two different things, and I am such a stickler for making people understand that, at least here. And if they're coming in for that, then you can't get it from me. Um, Now, the water weight loss targets that extra water, the interstitial fluid that we pack on because of hormones, because of um, how we're eating, how we're not exercising, how we position our bodies. For example, when we get a little bit older and we are working on the computer, we're sitting down, and most of us are very sedentary, but we have our legs crossed, and that can cause swelling in the legs, believe it or not. That pressure from keeping your legs crossed all the time can cause fluid buildup. A lot of us now are more mobile, so we're traveling back and forth to Atlanta and not realizing, hey, I went to Atlanta and back, and now my feet are swollen. Well, that's because you've been driving. And so that would not have happened, obviously, in our younger days, but it's something that's happening now. And so the water weight loss is a good product to have because it has products and herbs that have natural diuretic properties where you don't have to go and get a water pill. You literally would drink this, and you're going to be urinating just like you had actually had a water pill.
Oh,
And
wow.
I'm proud of those because they're very effective.
And that's one of the few products that you have that I have not tried, but that I'm definitely going to come and try because I've got to get this off of my midsection. And the last thing that I had a curiosity about, because I have been reading a lot about this in the news and just online, it's not that one, the sea moss. And
Yes.
you have a sea moss for hypertension, and then I believe these are just different varieties. And the one that says coconut, it just look like it tastes good. I
Which
don't know.
one?
The one that says coconut, the
Yeah.
coconut sea moss, it just looks like it tastes good. But what is the big craze about sea moss? What are the benefits? Tell me why I need it because I'm going to come and get some after you do.
Okay. Well, everyone loves the sea moss because it has been very popular, especially around COVID-19, because it was um, thought and promoted as something that helps you build your immune system. And it also is one ingredient that has a plethora of vitamins and minerals. And it also has secondary benefits for men. It is a wonderful product for men that, for lack of a better word, that may give them extra motor. And that's one of the benefits that we've definitely seen with CMOS. But what I love about CMOS, it's almost a complete vitamin. And if you were to get your vitamin that way, your body readily assimilates it as a food as opposed to a pill, multivitamin. And so for that reason, it's good. And what I've done in the clinic is I don't like the taste of sea moss raw. I like it flavored. And so what we've done here is found flavors that either complement it. For example, the hypertension sea moss. It is sea moss coupled with our Jamaican water um, that lowers the blood pressure. So I don't like to just do something to do something. Even like our lemonades, I do a medical lemonade. Doesn't necessarily have to taste bad. Or I do a tea for something. For me, I tell everyone I eat my medicine and I drink my medicine. And that's the way I look at it. Food and drink is my medicine.
And you do exhibit that very well in what you do in your business. We could talk forever. Unfortunately, we are out of time, but I do want to use these last few moments for you to just give us some more information about Organic Sister, your
Yeah.
apothecary, and some of the other things that you do offer. Because as I mentioned in the beginning, of course, you're an entrepreneur, so you
Mhm.
have other business endeavors and just any events, any announcements that you have for us, any final words of encouragement that you have for our ladies. So we're just going to give you a few moments to share that with us.
Well, thank you. I want to say thank you for having me and allowing me just to do what I love to do, which is to educate and empower. I am more excited about where we're headed when it comes to wellness and health, because I see that we're in this age where more people are concerned about it and they are being more proactive about it. And so for that reason, I love it. So the apothecary is here for all your, natural wellness needs. But because we are also a medical facility, we do complementary medicine, and we do medicine where, we do work with you for a condition that you may have that needs to be treated with a prescription. So we do that. And then me wearing my organic hat, the biggest thing that I'm doing right now is AI. In about 2 weeks, I will have my second class. No, I'm sorry, my third class on AI. So if you're interested in it, I would love for your listeners to participate in that. That's going to be a 2 hour class about AI. And if somebody thinks that they, won't have to deal with it, there's no way you would not deal with AI. Um, I won't even say next year. I'm saying in the next 6 months.
Right now.
It is something, especially we as Christians, because, all of us, I think, thought, oh, this is evil. We can't deal with it. But there's no way we would not deal with it. It's just like the internet. My parents, oh, I don't want to learn that thing. I don't want to do that thing. It's too hard or whatever like that. But AI would touch everything that we know. And so if we get ahead of this and, begin to look at AI in ways that it can cultivate our churches. So I'm working on something really, really big and huge with that, and how it will make our lives more productive. When I'm not available, you can go on my website and you can ask these same questions that you may have, or listeners. If people wanted information about gut health and stuff like that. They're able to pull my lectures off of that. And then my AI will actually extrapolate it as if I'm talking to you and responding. And you can literally ask me, questions, and it'll sound like, I'm responding in real time. So I think that's amazing. And that kind of thing can work in any field. Danielle, you're doing taxes, so that can work with taxes. You're a pastor now. There's no way now, that we should not be able to target, people who are lost and unsaved, because they can go on your website and listen to sermons that you've preached, and studies that you've done, and all that can be compiled into a e-course. It could be compiled into a master class. It can be compiled into, a certification for learning about the Bible. So the the possibilities are amazing.
Wow. Well, there's so much more that we look forward to, and we've got to have you on because I have so many other questions because we could do a whole nother segment on just those types of things that you're doing, the training courses that you have, the different products that you do, because sometimes you do classes on those. I know you've done candle making, you've done soap making, where
Mhm.
people want just a nice organic soap, things that are healthy, that doesn't have all of these other products that the soaps have in.
Right.
When you walk into your store, there's so many different herbs, there's different teas. So we have so much more that we can talk
Yeah.
about. You have your garden out back. You have the
Yeah.
different meals that you prepare that are healthy. So there's just so many other things. So again, we just thank you for sharing your gift and
Thank you.
with our community and with our world. Those of you that are watching, she is such a treasure. So we appreciate you, Dr. Harris. And we just do a quick prayer at the end. I'm going to pray before we go out of this broadcast. And if there's anybody that's asking in these last few moments before we pray, and if you have any questions for Dr. Harris, you can go ahead and ask your question now. We'll throw it up on the screen. I'll give you a minute or two for that. And also to share her information with you again, where you can find her. Her phone number is 706-507-5420. And what is the address for the apothecary?
The address for Leah Shea Apothecary is 5041
Mhm.
Warm Springs Road, Suite A as in Apple, Columbus, Georgia, 31909.
5041 Warm Springs Road. And those such cute little, it's like, is it three buildings there together, three or four?
It's 4.
Okay. And you're B,
A as in Apple.
A as an apple. So 5041 Warren Springs Road, Suite A. And
Yes.
you will find the apothecary. You all make sure that you stop by and visit. We don't have any questions, so we're going to go ahead and end with prayer. Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you right now, God, for the information that has been shared today. We thank you for Dr. Harris and just the gifts and the information that you have allowed her to obtain and to just be downloaded from the Holy Spirit to be able to give to our people. And Father, we thank you, Lord God, that everything that she touches will continue to flourish and to grow. The lives of the women and men that she will encounter, God, that everybody that she comes in contact with, God, that they will leave not the same because their lives will be enhanced and better because of the information that she has imparted. And Father, we pray for her personally, from the crown of her head to the sole of her feet, God, that you would just continue to make sure you keep her healthy, strong, and astute mentally, so that she will be able to continue to do the work that you have given her to do in this earth realm. And I pray for all of our listeners, God, that they will retain this information and that they will have the courage that if they need these services, to reach out so that they can be able to work on their process of being healthy, both inside and out and naturally. So Father, we thank you now for this broadcast. We ask that we're able to continue to reach people abroad. In the matchless name of Jesus, we pray. Amen. Amen. God bless you all. We will see you all again on next Wednesday. Next Wednesday, we're going to have a treat. We'll have some broadcasts that we'll put together from a women's conference that we're going to visit this weekend. So you don't want to miss that. God bless you. Thank you again, Dr.
Thank
Harris.
you.
And we will see you all on next week. Be blessed.
Okay, bye.